Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third episode of VGM Community Convos. Thank you once again to you guys for being open and willing to be part of our third episode of VGM Community Convos. We are super excited to open up a safe space for all of us to share our opinions on different topics. With us celebrating Earth Day on the 22nd of April, this Saturday, we thought we'd open up the topic of the pressures of living sustainably. We're all constantly reminded that we have a responsibility to go green and curb our meat and dairy consumption. But it's also becoming increasingly common for people to feel terribly guilty for not living a life that's 100% green or sustainable, even if they are genuinely trying their best to do so already. You'll be joined by the VGM team and myself, who are also interested in sharing their thoughts, being mindful not to pass judgment onto others for their opinion. But before we get into it, I thought we'd share a little bit more about ourselves. I'm Sean, aka Sean the Vegan, also from the vegangoodsmarket, and we are hosting this wonderful conversation along with the team, Gugu and Connor, who's also part of the VGM team. And yeah, we can't wait to talk about the different statements that we have coming up. Over to you, Arish.
Hi, I'm Irish. I'm working in social media and marketing, but I studied animation and I'm doing my master's degree in digital arts at the moment. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Arish. What about you, Lunga?
Yes, I'm Lunga Feline. I work in IT. I think relevant to here, I've been plant-based and vegan. I always say I'm committed to being vegan, but it's never 100% because you learn something new all the time. That I'll be 6 years in September, 28th of September. So I'm on my 6th year. I transitioned in 2017.
Same. You and I, we transitioned in the same year, in the same month.
Is it?
So happy anniversary when September comes.
Yeah.
Over to you, Kaz.
Hi, I'm Kaz. My Instagram handle is Conscious Living Kaz. I am the editor of Vegan SA, which is the only directory for vegans in South Africa.
Oh, that's amazing. Just to let you know, when I initially transitioned in the first month, that directory was the OG directory, like the directory that I was going to all the time. So thank you so much for putting that together.
You're welcome. It's quite an old site, so we are trying to do some fundraising at the moment to update it so that it looks a little bit sleeker and more modern, but we're still adding to it even in its existing state.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing all of the new listings on the directory. Over to you, Gugu.
Hi, I'm Gugu, and I'm the owner of a vegan, all-natural skincare and hair care brand, Lady Beauty. And this is Connor.
Hi. Yes, I help with Lady Beauty, and I work at Wazoogle Superfood. I'm the systems manager there, making vegan products.
Awesome. Are you guys ready to hear how it works?
Yeah, we're ready.
So everyone was asked to prepare 3 sheets, writing on each one, I agree, I disagree, and in the middle. Would you guys mind sharing your sheets with me? Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll share statements that have to do with the pressures of living sustainably that you'll agree to, disagree to, or feel neutral towards. After we make this statement, you'll have 3 seconds to give your answer, keeping your page up to show your answer, and thereafter sharing your reasons why, being mindful not to pass judgment onto others for their opinion. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Here we go. Statement number 1. Only if I have access to affordable, sustainable resources facilities, and healthy food options, is it easy for me to get into a sustainable routine? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Awesome. Let's start with Lunga.
I think access to resources makes a big difference, because sometimes you don't prioritize certain things just because right now you have too many things that you are juggling and you need access to this, and it becomes sort of a luxury to think about sustainability and health and certain things. You basically kind of need to clear out a clutter in your life sometimes for you to be able to focus, on improving your life. It's sort of like you need to establish a certain foundation, and then sustainability and health, and jumping off from that foundation that you built. Yeah, that's what I think.
This is a tricky question, because it's not always easy to do everything that you want to do and to live exactly as sustainably as you'd like to. But I think for me, it's so part of just who I am that it's something that I make a priority, even if it's not the easiest thing. So growing up, always try to sort of recycle and wear clothes as long as possible, and not necessarily buy clothes new, try and get them secondhand and thrift and so on. And I've been vegetarian since I was 13. I was pescatarian, and then as soon as I really started looking into veganism in 2019, I went vegan. So yeah, I think it's just so ingrained in me that I kind of always just try and do what I can to live sustainably.
Yeah, I feel as though if you have access to things, it makes it much easier to participate in them.
I think it's a complicated question. I think that sometimes we are trying to be too perfect to the point where we just let it freeze us. Whereas, we don't have to always use biodegradable packaging as long as we're using packaging that is recyclable. Another thing is, we're often buying these expensive plant-based meats, but we forget that there's things like tofu and chickpeas and lentils that we can find in cans we can use to make our own food. But I also understand in some rural countries as well, they don't even have access to whatever the farms are bringing in that week. So it like Irish said, it is a complicated answer.
Are you ready for statement number 2? Going vegan is the only way to live as sustainably as possible. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not fully vegan. We're sort of in the space where an effort is being made. But going back to the previous point, you don't always have access to everything. I think a lot of the vegan alternatives are more expensive. But yeah, the footprint of animal-based products is just so much larger in general, especially meat. You could probably do whatever else you wanted to do to try and reduce your footprint, but it wouldn't make as big of an impact as cutting out animal products. But someone would have to check the math on that, but that's just my gut instinct.
I'm in the middle, because personally for myself, yes, I agree, but in the greater society or community, it's not possible. So that's why I'm saying I'm in the middle. So I always try to encourage people to eat less animal products, or try to tell them that there's no benefit in using cow's milk or goat's milk. It has no positive impact in your health. So you're just doing it because you are used to it, you like it. So if the rest of the community can reduce their intake on animal products, then yeah, it'll make a big difference. Even if obviously they won't all go vegan, but even if they don't go vegan, if they can have less days where they use animal products, it would make a big difference.
My response was probably quite shocking, but only because I do agree with Connor that it is the single biggest way to make an impact. However, I do think that there are other ways that we can make an impact. From the study I read, I think it makes about a 60% impact, but I think there's also room for the other 40%. When we think about our water usage, when we think about how we're using coal in South Africa to power our country, and so many things like that. When you look at those stats, they're also quite scary. So I think that we need to look at the whole picture if we're trying to live more sustainably.
Are you ready for statement number 3? When I see people in public throwing their rubbish on the floor or out the window, I don't call them out, but I do feel guilty when I don't. 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I said in the middle because it depends on who it is, if I'm going to call them out or not. If it's somebody that I'm with, then I do. In a respectful way, I will say, look, that's not right. Let's rather just, pick that up or whatever. If it's somebody I don't know, then I probably won't, simply because it's very, very awkward. It's one of those things where you're in public, you don't know this person. It's an uncomfortable thing to do, but I do still feel bad about it. I don't like it. It doesn't sit right with me. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm generally very, very introverted, so I probably wouldn't go up to a stranger and tell them that littering is, it's bad. But I would definitely feel very bad about it because it's just not good for the environment.
I think I would be very angry. That's definitely one thing I'd feel. I would want to say something to them, but I think just out of me trying to have respect for other people's decisions, I wouldn't want to come across as like one of those angry Karens. But at the same time, there's obviously a small bit of guilt about you should say something. But I also think there's so much knowledge in the world about littering that people, if they're pretending like they don't know the impact, then that's kind of on them.
Yeah, I also do. I feel guilty when I don't call them out. It doesn't make sense because sometimes people will throw something on the floor, even though you can see there's a trash can not too far. But you never know how people react in public, So I'm always very careful on how I approach strangers because, something you may think is nothing can actually get into trouble in public spaces. So, you gotta be very careful.
Are you ready for statement number 4? Sustainable home, body, food, and packaging alternatives are more expensive, and this prevents me from trying them. 3, 2, 1. What do we have? In the middle. Everybody's in the middle.
I think that it's becoming more and more commonplace, so therefore packaging is becoming more affordable. But there are some products I've seen where the packaging costs more than the product inside. And I definitely think that this is something that we need to work on, especially in South Africa, because you often see in America and the UK, they have a lot of sustainable packaging options. But here in South Africa, we don't have many, and therefore it costs, I know, local brands a lot of money to try and develop that.
I know from work that there's not a lot available in the country in terms of sustainable packaging. If you want it, you basically have to import it from overseas or go to one of the few places where it probably costs a lot of money and it ends up costing more than product, which is why a lot of companies aren't going to be doing it until it becomes more affordable for them because it's going to hurt their bottom line. Sometimes I'll try them if I have the money to try the alternatives that are more expensive, but it is an issue, but I don't know. It's a complicated one as well.
Food-wise, I don't think it's a lot more expensive because I was a strong animal product consumer before I became vegan or plant-based, and it's not expensive. It requires a lot more thought and sometimes to prepare stuff in advance, especially if you don't want to consume processed food. So you need to prepare food maybe like three to four times a week. But it is not expensive for my experience. But people do think it's expensive if you speak to them. You know, it's a lot more expensive to eat healthy or to eat vegan, but it's not.
I also sit in the middle because I have come to find that yes, there are the more expensive brands, but a lot of brands that we don't even realize are sustainable. You know, it's like everyday brands. You just need to do your homework and your research, and that is, you know, where the thought comes in that I think Lunga mentioned. It's just a matter of, you know, you just need to put a lot of thought into it because it doesn't need to be. You can, a lot of, you know, everyday products that we use anyway that are a lot more inexpensive are sustainable, are vegan. So yeah, it just depends on how you're shopping.
Are you guys ready for the last statement? I believe that campaigns like Ditch the Straw and Ditch the Plastic Bag should be aimed at businesses, corporations, and government and not consumers. 3, 2, 1. You got everybody in the middle.
Yeah, I feel as though on one hand, it definitely would make a much bigger difference if the giant corporations did their part to lower emissions and water usage. But at the same time, I think it would be a good idea to get it ingrained in the everyday person to incorporate eco-friendliness, zero waste into their lives. So yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
I agree with Gugu, and I also think, you know, we as consumers forget how much power we have. If we demand something enough and if there's enough of us, corporations will have no choice but to do it because they want us to buy from them. But at the same time, corporations also need to give us more options. So I think it's sometimes, I mean, it might be a bit harsh, but I think sometimes we say it's up to the corporations to do it because we don't want to take responsibility for it ourselves.
I think it's a balance, you know, between corporations or businesses and individuals, you know, so because businesses will prioritize profit ahead of everything. So, and sometimes people will always go for what is convenient, what they're used to, and they will not put any thought into it. So it's kind of a balance that, you know, the business must offer what is eco-friendly, but the people as well need to know that they also have a responsibility to make the right choices.
I said I agree, and then I changed it to in the middle because my initial reaction was I think that corporations should be targeted first because people are going to use what the corporations offer. So, you know, if Pick and Pay, let's say, is only offering plastic bags, then people are going to buy the plastic bags. So, but I changed it to in the middle because I do think that there's an equal responsibility. Corporations should definitely be targeted first and foremost because they're the ones making the products, but consumers should definitely take responsibility as well for the way that they shop and the decisions that they make. And I think it's Kaz who said that, you know, at the end of the day, if we're not supporting it, they're not going to produce it. So yeah, so equal, I would say.
Guys, those were our statements on the pressures of living sustainably. As our world keeps evolving, and we gain more knowledge and awareness of how our ever-changing lifestyles are impacting the environment, we need to keep in mind that we are all unlearning so much and can only do our best. This is a much bigger problem than any one of us can solve on our own. And caring about nature also includes compassion for ourselves. As much as living an organic, waste-free, and fully sustainable lifestyle is the goal, not everyone has the privilege to make choices that are better suited to live sustainably. All we can do is be mindful of our choices with the information that we have at the time. And in doing so, we can aim for progress over perfection. Then starting by setting small realistic goals, initially for ourselves, and then extending those to our homes and workplaces. Would you guys like to give any closing statements?
Ironically, that's actually like one of my favorite quotes, which is like progress over perfection. And I even consider that when it comes to being plant-based / vegan. I think that we all should make a start somewhere, and we shouldn't bash each other over the heads when we make a mistake. Because I just think that in my experience, we get that whole the angry vegan, the angry environmentalist, and then people actually push away from us because they think that we are too hardcore or we're just quite hateful energy. So I think that we need to try find a balance where we encourage people rather than beat them with a stick, for lack of a better word.
I think that just from this platform, I've also realized quite a lot of things about sustainability that I was not aware of. So I think information is very important, and a lot of what we discuss here, it's very important for it to go out there. It will make a big difference if a lot of people were aware of how small and daily decisions that they make that actually compound and what they can do to harm the planet in the long run.
I was quite keen coming into this because I've had a lot of, can I say, internal conflict with myself recently. Like I say, I was vegetarian for many years and then I went vegan, but like going vegan in terms of my diet, I started definitely considering the everyday products that I use, my bathroom products, my makeup, everything. I'm like, okay, now everything needs to be vegan because I need to set a good example to just people around me. You know, I don't want to say I'm vegan, but then I'm actually like half vegan. I want to do it right. And recently I've kind of been very strict on myself with my clothes as well, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I need to shop right. So now I can't support fast fashion and I can't support this and that. And it gets hard because I find myself in a bit of a spiral where I'm like, you know, everything needs to be so precise in order to feel like I'm really doing the right thing and not supporting the wrong industries. So yeah, I like the concept of progress over perfection and not being too hard on ourselves or other people and just doing the best that we can. Because I think that is definitely something I've been struggling with personally, more recently maybe, as I become more aware of the industries that we are supporting, you know, then you're kind of like, okay, you know, you need to just follow the right path every single time. And I suppose it's just a matter of doing what you can in that moment and maybe just setting realistic goals and not just taking too much on yourself at once.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like in being a quote-unquote eco-warrior requires balance as well. Like, you shouldn't be pushing yourself too far too quickly.
I feel like that applies to most things.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone once again for participating in our third episode of VGM Community Convos. We can't wait to share this with our community. We want to obviously get everyone else's perspective as well. So thank you guys so much for being open and willing to share your opinions and your perspectives on the topic of the pressures of living sustainably. And we can't wait to see you and celebrate sustainability with everyone at our next vegan market on Sunday, the 7th of May at the Range in Tukai. If you guys haven't been there before, it's going to be a beautiful Sunday out with such good vibes in collaboration with the Thrift Fest and between 50 and 70 vendors that are trading both home and body, food, clothing, and sustainable offerings and organizations that will be there as well. So guys, if you have nothing to do on the 7th, make sure to diarize the Vegan Goods Market for the next one. And until our next VGM community conversation, we hope that you guys have a lovely evening, have a good cozy weekend, stay warm and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having us.
Only a pleasure, guys. Bye.
Nice to meet
you
all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.